Are we gonna explain why Sean sounds British?
You might notice that Sean sounds a little
I've been here
different
for
today.
about a week now. Been here about 2 weeks. It's going well.
That's so
I don't
good.
know where you're from.
I don't know where you're from.
He's from like all over the UK, Scotland, Ireland, and just a little bit of Australia as well.
Look, there's different accents, okay?
Yeah, they
how it
sure are.
works.
Every time you open your
You're
mouth,
all of them
different
at once.
accent.
Yeah.
Hello, welcome to Storied, a podcast where we take one piece of media and transform it into another.
Today we're going to be reimagining Home Alone, the Chris Columbus and John Hughes masterpiece, as a video game.
So, yeah,
That's
first
right,
off,
right? The
yeah.
writer-director pair.
The use of masterpiece is...
no, it's perfect.
Pretty
Said as
literal.
flat and straight as possible.
I didn't want to give, everybody already knows it's a masterpiece. I didn't want to shove it down
That's
their
true.
throats.
That's a good point.
It's not news to anyone that film's a masterpiece.
I guess if you haven't watched it or you weren't alive in the 90s, which would be weird for you listening to this podcast. We might have young listeners, who knows? So first off, there has been at least one Home Alone movie or Home Alone game, I should say, that was made back in the day, and it was for the NES, the original NES. So that places it like late 80s, early 90s. I guess that's when that movie came out, early 90s. And it was freaking terrifying. I don't know if either of you guys played it. The essential information about that game is you're Kevin, and you're in the house, and the Wet Bandits are just trying to get in, and it's like a side like a side view of the house, like a cutaway, so you can see all the rooms and staircases and stuff from the side, and you walk around and you pick up these little square icons which represent the traps that Kevin placed throughout the house. And you pick them up and you can hold like one or two of them, and you can drop them, and when you drop them they like activate, and so if someone runs over them, it stuns them, and it just sort of, the whole thing is just trying to avoid the Wet Bandits, and they're just two AI that enter the house and just try and get you. And so like you're just trying to run away from them. There's no hiding. They will just continue to always know where you are and always track you. So you're continuing to just like run around the house, pick up traps, drop traps, and lead them into them and stun them and just get like make more distance between you two. And it's like, it's really what it is. It's an alien game where you're just trying to stay away from these horrible monster that's tracking you and knows where you are. It's fucking terrifying because like you're trying to go upstairs and using the old NES pad where you're trying to push up on the D-pad, and it fucking sucks to do that. And you're like, go up, go up, go up, and they're like closing in on you, and like you're 8 years old and your heart is racing because it's like there's no life. If they catch you, the game is over. So like it was a fucking horrifying video game. So I don't know if that's quite what we want to go for in this
Great
grab,
about that too is that just in the movie they were just trying to steal stuff, but in this game they're just trying to murder this child.
Yeah, they're trying to kill a child, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's, we should make this game about his murdering children. Maybe you should play it in the perspective of Joe Pesci,
Oh man.
And then you can like mash A to like fake cuss words out and go, Bush, freaking,
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really good at that. Weirdly, I don't know if they practiced it or what in that movie, but he is amazing at faking the fact that he's not cussing.
I like the idea that he got a lot of practice on like mobster movies, just like being a fucking guy who loses his shit constantly, and then brought that to this children's movie.
It is so weird that Joe Pesci was cast in this role. Like thinking about his previous film work, they're like, we have this really good holiday family movie coming out. Who should we get to play the villain? You know that guy from Raging Bull?
Perfect.
His presence in that first scene, is really good. Like, you don't, as an audience member, if you didn't know he was going to be the villain, I would totally thought he was a cop looking for Kevin's parents. You know what I mean? And then when you find out, his intentions are more malicious later.
Well, that's what, when I was a kid, that's what I thought. Because I didn't know who Joe Pesci was, because I'd never seen a Joe Pesci movie because I was too young. So it was actually kind of perfect casting because you look up at him and it's like he's really affable and fun, and he's kind of just he looks completely perplexed by what's going on around the house. He's like what the audience is supposed to be feeling.
Yeah. It's really kind of a fun narrative device in the movie that way. he's the one that you're kind of like locking onto as a point of view.
That's interesting.
That's bizarre.
He does represent the viewer in those moments where he doesn't understand and the viewer doesn't understand.
Yeah, like look at this crazy house full of crazy people.
So maybe we should play the game from Joe Pesci's perspective, as you guys said.
That's what I'm saying.
And then
Yeah.
just have to break in.
But what it starts out as is it starts out with you're playing as Joe Pesci, and he's like a really genuinely just a happy cop. And then you knock on the door to this house. This is all in first person, and then the door gets opened by a child who just runs away creepily into the house, and then you start seeing everything from his real perspective, and slowly as the game goes on and as this scene goes on, he gets crazier and crazier.
Oh man, I like the idea that he was actually a real cop. Like he actually enters the house, and it's just fucking like you're the one who's home alone, Joe Pesci.
Yeah, it's like session 9 or something,
man.
where he's just completely, from his perspective, we just see how he goes crazy, and Daniel Stern is just in his imagination. He's not real.
It's weird that you're talking about this. Like, if this movie were remade now, I could totally see it being remade as like a much more menacing, like Don't Breathe type thriller. You know what I mean? Where it's like Home Alone. Like it's it's a fucking horror suspense thriller. Where there's actually like murderous people trying to break into the house.
And yet you still roll out your like plan of like putting a branding iron on the doorknob and like crushing ornaments and putting them under the open window and shit. Like there's still a bunch of slapstick, but it's played straight.
It's real body horror, yeah. It's like all of that stuff really happens to them, and they're like horribly maimed at the end of the movie.
It gets handled with like the raw visceral reality of like Green Room. Where like every trap is like really actually body maiming, and it like has lingering effects for the rest of the film.
Oh man, like the paint can swings down and like crushes a guy's skull in as it actually would, like. So he's like kind of like fucked up, but that he continues to walk around the house with like a half caved in skull and shit.
He's dealing with like actual like brain damage and concussive symptoms throughout the rest of the film.
Yeah, when he puts that spider on Daniel Stern's face at the end of the movie, and he screams loudly and comedically, that's actually just horrible, and the spider like bites him.
Venom into
it's like
his
on
face.
his tongue. Yeah,
It's like from The Mist, just like lays eggs in his face.
Kevin McAllister is the bad guy in this movie. It sounds like.
Yeah, but have you seen Macaulay Culkin recently?
Aw.
I'm just saying he could play a bad guy.
He could just in the reboot he plays the thief.
Oh man, yeah, That's if they're gonna do that, that's what happened.
Like he's so traumatized by what happened to him twice on 2 separate Christmases.
I know we're making a game of this, but it would
Not
be
yet, we're
interesting.
not.
Well, I mean, like it is interesting kind of to ponder for a second, like how this would, if this did get remade in like the world of today, just because there's so much like tracking technology, so to speak, on kids once they have phones and stuff.
Yeah, they
you
just
know?
look up like Find My iPhone and see that their mom is in like Paris or wherever they go.
But I mean, like it would be probably a harder sell in the world of today, like just because it's like I feel like kids go outside less at the very least. You know what I mean? Like it's like. I feel
Well,
like
what would happen
parenting
is they would just like Kevin would just call his mom's smartphone and it'd be like, "Hey, you left me," like that. This movie was made before the advent of like mobile telephones.
direct
so,
access.
Yeah, so like once you're out of sight in that era, like you have no access to anybody. So like that would be the question for this game, right? Like, would we reimagine? Like, is this game a direct? This is just Home Alone the movie from the '90s, or would it be like this is Home Alone the movie but in like 2017 or 2018? Because we'd have to do a lot more like narrative, hoop jumping to make that make sense. Where like the power's out, or or like the phones don't get any service, which is like the new excuse, like, oh, I don't have any service for like horror movies and shit. Let's make some inroads on this actual design, right? Like, is it just like a first person game where you're playing Kevin, from the perspective of like a 3 foot tall person and a 4 foot tall person, and you're walking around the house and you have to go into the basement where the scary basement furnace is, and then the bandits try and break in and you have to craft, because there's got to be a crafting system, right? If it's a contemporary video game and you craft like traps and shit and place them down, you have to hold out until the morning comes. Like, what's the basic is it 1990s? Is it 2017? Like, what are we talking?
I feel like if we're gonna do it, yeah, I mean, it's got to be a pretty robust system of like finding stuff in the house and then figuring out how to use that. Maybe like it's a combination crafting strategy game, right?
Okay.
Like, I can imagine like the best version of it to me is where you're playing as Kevin. You basically you have a limited amount of time, to like get ready. It's you do that thing where in the movie they say you're going to Saturday at 9 p.m. or whatever it is. We're gonna take that house, and he overhears it, and then you have a limited amount of time to kind of like get ready for them to come, and you can play the game over and over again, like XCOM style.
It's like waves, like they come in waves essentially.
It's like hundreds and hundreds of bandits, wet bandits.
You have to survive. You have to survive the night each time essentially. Like, is that what kind of thing you're talking about?
No, it's more like you basically get the house ready, and then they come in, and if you haven't prepared the house properly and don't play the game right, they can get you. It's like it's almost like you can play it over and over again until you get it right.
Yeah,
kind of a thing. But there's not more. There's more than one way to get it right.
Yeah,
yeah. It feels like a game that you would learn more about it the more times you played it. Like it would be repeatable. And it's funny that you said strategy game, because I totally was thinking more of like a Resident Evil 7 style game, but I like the strategy game aspect, like the XCOM grid of like the house and like walking around. Like, I've been playing Persona 5, which is this like Japanese RPG where you manage your time because you're like a school kid, so you have to do all this like JRPG stuff, but you also have to go to school, and you can like hang out with your friends, and you can take a part-time job, and you have to like, you only have so many hours in the day to do things, and you have like a deadline. Like, you have to like beat the JRPG boss by this date. But up until that point, you can do whatever you want. You can craft items, you can practice skills and like rank up, like level up and stuff. So the idea, your idea of, okay, you have the afternoon to prepare the house, and these are the windows that are open, these are the windows that are closed. You have to sort of like funnel them through this space by locking all windows but one, and then put traps down, but crafting them takes time, and searching for resources takes time. Like that seems it would be really fun. And then you play it, and I guess you either win or you don't, right? Like it's a binary thing, and if you fail, then it's you start again.
You could probably adjust, right? You could probably adjust on the fly where if something's not working, you can go risk your own skin to like creep through the house in first person or whatever, and like find maneuver a trap because you know where they are in the house or whatever. Or maybe if you didn't set up the video camera, you don't you don't know where they are in the house, and you just kind of creeping around, and there's like an actual stealth mechanic to it or whatever. And like the goal is, either you can die if they find you.
I love that. That's the end game where you literally get murdered.
Yeah, well, they're gonna kill him in the movie, right? Like, it's pretty dark. Like, it's like running through the basement of the next door house, and they pick him up and they like strap him to a door, and they start talking about pulling his fingernails out and shit.
Holy shit!
It's
I don't remember
dark.
that.
Really? Yeah. No.
Very end, yeah.
Yeah, they have him and then the snow shovel guy comes in and hits Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern in the face with the snow shovel, which is enough to knock them out when paint cans
I know.
Yeah.
and fire weren't enough.
Yeah.
But it's funny because like he's like really genuinely threatened by those dudes. So like I feel like dying in the game is totally something that would happen, or they can just steal all your shit because they didn't catch you, but they, let's say you sucked and you didn't piss them off all that much. Because in the movie, they just get increasingly pissed, so they don't care about the house anymore. They just care about killing Kevin. So, like, you could do a thing where if you piss them off enough, they come after you instead of going after what they're trying to steal from the house. Or maybe they just steal shit from the house and get away.
It's funny, I was thinking about this, and you kind of brought it up, but one benefit, so to speak, of doing this in the modern age as opposed to in like the 90s is there are maybe. I mean, Kevin was a rich kid. It was no secret that his family was rich, and they would probably have like a smart home now. So you might be able to have like a Home Alone thing now, where he had like a cell phone on him, and you could kind of have like a blended sort of Five Nights at Freddy's aspect, where like they had like a high
shit,
high
that's
alert
really
security
good.
system, and you could kind of track where the Wet Bandits are in the house, and kind of like you could try to sneak around them to try to cut them off, or kind of watch the progress of where they're headed, and set up traps accordingly if you didn't do it the first time around. You know what I mean?
That's
but
really
also,
good.
like, you're sitting on your phone, you don't know if like one of them is coming into the room that you're on.
Well, it's like looking at the motion tracker in Alien Isolation, where like if using it makes noise, or like it fills your full screen, or if it's something that like it comes up and fills your full screen, so you can't really look around. Like it fills like 9/10 of the screen, and like everything else around it's sort of blurry. So you might see something like movement behind you, but you can't see what it was if you're staring at your like phone. And the light from the phone might like attract them.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
And like Kevin in the movie, he definitely had to, he had to like keep going back. Like he kept backing into the house further as they kept getting closer in, and like having to do more like set up things.
He like ends up in the attic, right? Like he keeps kind of going up and up, right?
Yeah, and like he's like waiting there with the BB gun to shoot Daniel Stern in the face when he comes in. And then once it's clear that that's over with, his plan is like perfect. Up until a certain point, it starts to go wrong. But like he knows what they're gonna do. He knows that like, oh well, I'm gonna cut off the front door because that's gonna be the first time they try to get in, and so they're gonna now try to go through the basement. Yeah. And so like that could be part of the gameplay would be like. A, first setting that up, and then B, like making sure you were in the right place to do the thing at the time you needed to do it.
I mean, Kevin definitely would go back to the bandits, like pop his head out over the banister and like yell some obscenities at them to cause them to go, "You little," and then like run up the stairs. Like he would have to continue to like
right.
bait them into going into spaces to kind of what you're saying. Like, okay, I'm gonna lock the front door, which forces them to check the other entrance, which is this only other entrance that you know about. And then they try that entrance and they burn the fucking McAllister M on their hand or whatever, and so like that sort of funneling them into spaces that you've trapped heavily and trying to avoid spaces that you haven't is really good. I was thinking actually, the idea that because from my memory, if memory serves, the Wet Bandits try over several nights to break into the house, right? Like it's not just one. There's one main night, but so they try out they like drive by it and Kevin set up the like. Michael Jordan standee on like the train to make it look like people are in the house like having a party and stuff. But if each night they get progressively more aggressive. Like the first night they're just kind of casing the joint and like checking the front door, and then the second night it's like fuck it and they break through a window and they start rummaging around in like I guess you could call it area 1 of the house, and then like each progressive night they sort of get more aggressive. After they fail, if you send them away, if you get them to run away, then they come back the next night with like renewed tools, or like they level up. Like now they have lockpicks, or now they have like a crowbar, or now they have like flashlights, and they you can't use your like broken tinsel decorations on the ground to like break their stab them in the feet or whatever. And so they kind of get wise to your tricks, and you have to kind of keep changing your patterns. You know what I mean? Like in XCOM, like you never fight the same alien for too long. Eventually you have to fight dudes who can like, we use range attacks. Well, this guy has better range now, that we have to sort of like alter our strategy.
Yeah. I mean, you want to prevent people playing the game from being able to just spam a certain, trick that works really well for them over and over again and defeat the Wet Bandits. The Wet Bandits. The Wet Bandits.
I know.
Oh my
Didn't they change the name to something else in the second one?
Sticky Bandits.
The Sticky Bandits, that's what it was.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Because Daniel, what's his name, has a plan to like cover his hands in tape and glue and shit, and then like just like touch stuff and stick it to his hands, and that's how he's gonna rob people.
But how would anybody know that? It's like you do that and then you take shit, but you also take the sticky with you.
Right. They're not very smart, I think, is the goof.
No. They're not very smart.
So at the very end, when like you get caught, and is the last thing you see just like the hand come over the camera with the McAllister M burned into the palm, and then it just all goes black.
Only if you've set up that trap.
I think that's the first. That's like the tutorial level, right? Like you have to do that on night 1, so that you set up that really rad burned hand shot. Because they kept referring, like even in Home Alone 2, it comes back. Like they make a thing of it being his like defining mark, after surviving the first movie. So I feel like you want to just jam that into that game as hard as you can.
How did those guys get out of prison anyway?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I don't remember if they explained that.
They probably just get off light.
I feel like they maybe escaped, but I might be wrong about that.
They murdered their parole officer, and
I haven't seen Home Alone 2 Lost in New York in a long time.
They used Kevin tricks, like his MacGyver tricks. They just learned a lot from him to get out of prison.
So like they shave a bar of soap into a shank, and they're like, "Thanks, Kevin."
Yeah.
Oh man, that's really good. Fuck.
He actually created his known antagonist.
The DLC for this is you play the Wet Bandits in prison, and you have to use all the tricks you learned to survive prison and get out to prepare for Home Alone 2.
Home Alone 2, the game, right, is basically just an open world, like New York. You can wander around all of New York. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
you can booby trap all of it.
That's exactly how this would go if we stick to modern video game like standards, where the first game is like a small contained experience, and the second game just blows out the scope and becomes this massive. You can wander all over New York and find unique crafting materials and dumpsters across New York. Fucking game, and then eventually you still have to like lure them into a specific location, into the abandoned house, and just fuck them up again. So we talked about them like stealing valuables and shit. So like, would there be like expensive objects in the house that the bandits are going towards, and the more they pick them up, like do they try and like pick up an expensive vase and like leave with it, or is it just gone, or is that even a thing that we would want to put into this game, or like I don't
it could be fun if it was like there's like a capture the flag element of it, like when you're playing like like Overwatch or whatever, capture the flag, and like somebody grabs the flag and you have to stop them before they get back, so like maybe you could have a thing where you're alerted, or if you're aware that they've grabbed the most expensive thing, you have to stop them before they get out, as well as even just getting to it,
Yeah. I think that it's weird to me that Kevin as a character is so not intimidated by these guys. Like the movie sets them up as super bumbling and like wacky, but there's still two grown intruders breaking into this guy's house, and he just like treats them with such disdain. I feel like if it was real, Kevin would just be fucking shit scared. And the game that represents that is way more like Alien Isolation or Resident Evil 7, where you're just in a house and there's a guy like in Resident Evil 7 you have the dad who just chases you forever until he loses sight of you, and then kind of like goes back to a set patrol looking for stuff. And those moments where you have to run past him to get to another place are fucking harrowing, and like I feel like that also might be an interesting kind of angle. It's not exactly in tone with the rest of the license, but there's something really, I think, interesting about the idea of, you're still like a 10-year-old, and these two grown like men are rampaging around your house, but you have to cross paths with them, and you have no choice. You can't just like sit there quietly and let them like loot the place. I mean, I don't know, maybe you can, but that's terrifying to me.
I have an idea, and maybe this is terrible, but I think it might be kind of amazing. So we ignore Home Alone 3, the movie, and we call the game Home Alone 3.
Okay.
Thank you. And essentially what it ends up being is it is a much later sequel. So essentially after the events of Home Alone 2, Harry and Marv went to jail, and they got locked up for a lot longer because they violated their probation or they escaped or whatever. And later in life, because Kevin McAllister had such a fucked up childhood, he ends up in jail for something. It doesn't matter what. But he's in the same jail
oh my God.
as Harry and Marv. And so they're basically just trying to come after him.
In prison.
In
prison.
Oh my God.
So Kevin has to, and nobody believes him.
Or even if they believe them,
it,
they wouldn't give a shit, right? Like,
no, exactly, yeah. So like the whole movie is them basically antagonizing Kevin and trying to get him shanked in prison, and then the whole prison ends up being gang up against him because Harry and Marv are popular there for some reason.
This is the wet prison.
It's the wet prison, and at the end of the game, you basically have to like hole up in the jail. Like they've managed to get the guards to like look the other way. You know,
you're just making
And
Arkham Asylum. You're literally just
no. It's Assault in Precinct 13. Really,
okay,
is what it is. And like Kevin is alone on his own, and he has to protect himself just to survive till morning.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's less Home Alone and more like Prisoner Alone.
Prisoner Alone, yeah. That's a really
Is
good
there any
title.
way I like this a lot. Is there any way we can have the prisoners literally just not be there? Like for some reason they're being bussed out to like break rocks or some shit, and somehow like they do the count
'Cause that
wrong
still
just like
happens.
whatever. Like
I like the idea though that they didn't even like it wasn't even useful work they were doing. They just went out to just like break these rocks. It's like why? Just break them.
Yeah,
So
shut
that's
up.
what
Do
that's
it.
what all like cartoons of prisoners of chain gangs have led me to believe, that they're just out there with, like with pickaxes breaking up rocks that don't.
They
that
don't
just, like,
collect them. They just break them and leave
yeah,
them
they
there.
leave them there, right?
Yeah.
But like if it's just 100% the setup from the very first movie, where like the wardens just count wrong, and so they leave the three of them in the prison and in their jail cells. Just like it's just those three in the entire prison, and the prison is abandoned because like they went out on some night trip to like
It's
break
like this
rocks.
field trip, this prison field trip. And then the guard is like, there's like a slow push in on the guard as he's like looking around, and like all of a sudden he's like, "Oh my God, Kevin!"
Yes, perfect. and then there's a pause, and he goes, "And Marv and Harry."
Yeah.
There's definitely because early in this movie, before all this, there's a scene where Kevin's mother, like Catherine O'Hara, comes to visit him in jail and like asks him to get, or he asked her to get him some kind of like snack that he loves, like pizza, like a cheese pizza.
Oh my God. And Pepsi,
so,
you gotta get Pepsi in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, his bunkmate in his prison cell definitely wets the bed.
Yes, fuck.
Oh, his bunkmate in his prison cell is Buzz.
Or I thought it
Oh
was
man, what a weird
No, it'd
coincidence.
have to be. Oh no, yeah, Fuller.
Fuller. I couldn't remember
wets the
saying it.
bed.
I kept wanting to say Farg, but I knew that wasn't right.
Is that the kid that
No,
wets the bed
Fuller.
and drinks the Pepsi
Yeah.
with the shitty grin on his
It's
face?
actually another Calkin brother too. I think
Is it?
Oh yeah.
plays him. I think it's Kieran actually.
Oh man, that'd be amazing because he's got on to have like an actual career.
Yeah. But you were going on. Sorry about that, John. About
No,
the
it's
cheese
fine.
pizza.
It's fine. So I'm just saying, like the cheese pizza. So his mother promises to order him a cheese pizza, and so somehow later in the movie, Kevin gets a cheese pizza delivered to him at the prison while all the rest of the people are out.
All for myself.
It's just like that moment, that quiet before the storm moment, where he eats his own cheese pizza again 30 years later.
But he's like tattooed and has like a
Yeah,
fucking
exactly.
buzz cut, and he's in an orange jumpsuit, and he's like world weary, just chewing on this fucking cheese pizza in like the canteen with like all the lights off, because he's hiding from the.
Exactly,
Oh
yeah.
my God.
What I thought you were gonna say
Yeah.
there too was like that's the scene where like because Kevin looks a lot different, right? But then what's her name? I can't remember the actress' name. It's Catherine O'Hara. Like she's still recognizable, so to speak. So like she's sitting there talking to her son through the glass on the phones, and then like the camera like pans over, and you just see somebody staring at him, and you realize it's like the Wet Bandits, and like Joe Pesci's like, I know that fucking lady's face. Why do I know that lady's face?
Oh,
Do
that's
you know what I
good.
mean? It takes them a while to like put it together, and then they finally realize that they're in this place with Kevin McAllister.
That's really good. I love the idea of them just being in this prison together because it makes no sense. But like the idea of Kevin McAllister being like, "Fuck, I gotta do this again," and like rummages around in like the canteen for like dangerous weaponry. Except it would like be really, really like dangerous shit instead of like paint cans and like spiders and stuff, right? Like it would be like actual knives and actual razor blades and shit that you'd like craft into actual weapons that then would like spring loaded fly across the room and stab Harry in like the cheek. You know, like it would be fucking way more hardcore than
Have
like.
you ever seen The Night of?
No.
There's like something that somebody makes in the prison there where they take like super hot boiling water and mix it with baby oil and then throw it on somebody, and that way like the baby oil keeps the hot water on you and it continues to burn you. Yeah, it'd be like that kind of shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's just really, really awful. Like.
Yeah, well, this is for keeps, right? I mean, this is where like
that's the tagline of
the game. Like the tagline is like, yeah, it all comes down to this or something. Yeah.
Like somebody's not getting out alive.
3 men enter, 1 man leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you basically like this is where it all comes down. It all comes to a head. Like Kevin McAllister either gets his revenge years later,
and then goes to the fucking electric chair for killing people.
No. But you have to, if you're going to do this, you have to prove, like, he has to finally prove that he hasn't been lying all this time about these crazy guys. Like, nobody believes that he's encountered these dudes for some reason. I mean, we were talking about that earlier, right? Where it's like, you know, he's there, and for some reason, he having foiled them years ago hasn't actually materialized. Nobody's talked about it. Mm. And so now he clears his name somehow at the end of this movie by murdering these 2 guys.
I thought it was a game.
I mean, it is.
I'm sorry, it is a game.
I think that you part of this, like, okay, you have to survive a night or X nights in the prison with these guys, is you have to also you have to somehow like get them to confess or gather evidence by using like the CCTV cameras in the prison. So it's not just like you have like multiple goals, right? Like you can, maybe there's a bad ending where you don't get the evidence and like you survive, but then it's just like, well, you murdered 2 people, so you know, lethal injection. Or like you get the evidence because they, you know, you rile them up enough that they like spill what happened onto the CCTV cameras, and then you can like use that as evidence at the end. But you have to do that while crafting traps and shit, right? Like it's one of those time management situations.
You have to break into like you know, the warden's office and get that little like Walkman thing back from Home Alone 2 with a little like voice.
Oh man, he came in with the like Talk Boy or whatever it was, the Talkman. Like it's like 2017 and there's way better tech, but he still just like holds on to the Talkman.
Yeah.
Fuck. That's really good.
He finds one in the prison library that was left there, you know, because the prison library doesn't have any money. So they bought this thing for people to use.
No. If this was a real video game, what would happen was it would just be on the shelf as you're rummaging through shit, and he clicks on it and you pick it up and he goes, "What a piece of junk!" and he throws it away, and then you pick up like the fucking iPod or whatever. It would just be like a momentary goof.
Well, yeah. It'd have to be like the guards like Kevin, you know, and so like they like let him in to their the guard post every now and again for him to like listen to music on it. You know what I mean? Like it's like,
oh, he's like a really good prisoner. You know how like if you're well behaved, you get certain privileges, or like, you know, you if you want to work in the library as like a job, they'll let you do that. So like mopping up or whatever, or like organizing books. So maybe Kevin like has access to certain resources that regular prisoners wouldn't, or he knows the layout of a place that he wouldn't, or he knows what's in like the back office of the library because he's allowed back there. You know, like there's something he has that other prisoners don't, you know?
He's like Andy Dufresne.
Yes, exactly right, yeah. Except he murders some dudes for real.
Oh yeah, that's why he's here.
Yeah,
yeah. Well, it could be a thing too. And it being Andy Dufresne, it might be fun. And this might be a complete derailment, but you know, he like the Wet Bandits are there, and he doesn't trust them, like because of their obvious history. But they're like trying to like secretly hone in on him, and he thinks that they're coming for him. And then like he like beats the shit out of him again, and you find out that they were actually like trying to get to him because he was so clever that they were trying to help him, like collaborate with him in an escape attempt. Like Andy Dufresne, you know, like we need your talents. I know we've got our issues, we've got our history, but we actually need your talents, Kevin.
God,
breaking out of prison with the wet bandits.
That'd be great because then you like send them off to like gather shit for you. You know, like all you really are good for is like cannon fodder and like finding shit for me. So I'm gonna give you orders every night, and you're gonna like come back with like the fucking like rock hammer. Then I'm gonna start like tunneling through the wall or whatever.
They offer you protection based on just your mutual ability to get out of this place.
I love that.
From other people who are trying to get in on it.
I was thinking actually, and this also might be totally different, and it is totally different. But like, what if the Wet Bandits like they go through the prison system, they come out the other side, and they become prison guards. So like, it's those two guys in the prison, and they're guards, and Kevin is the prisoner. And so when all the other guys are preparing to leave, they recognize Kevin and they orchestrate him being left behind so they can get their revenge on him. So it's not just like an accident. Like they're the ones who say they strike him off the ledger or whatever. They say, yeah, he's on the bus, and then it's just those two guys, and they have all the keys to everything. So they kind of have the run of the house. And it's a flip. Kevin's the intruder because they have like all the keys and shit, and he's trying to like scrounge around and like find stuff and like steal stuff, but it's like their place of power, you know?
Yeah. They've got the upper hand.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You don't even have to make them guards for that, though. They could just be like, they could just be like prisoners in charge of shit because they've been behaving over the years. You know, like.
So they're like in the kitchen. They have keys to the kitchen or whatever.
Yeah, like they run. They're the guys who organize the prisoners for external activities or something. You know,
I really like your idea that they're like popular. Like for some reason, like in this place, this is actually the best place for them.
Well, the best thing is Marv is popular. Like Marv is the one who's, it's like Harry. Which way? Yeah, Marv is Daniel Stern, right? Yeah. So, like Marv is like running shit. And Harry, it's like role reversal on them.
Oh, man.
And then you slowly start to see Harry, like Harry, like, starts to take back over as as he's got, like, a purpose again, throughout the game. I don't know, like, you can't make this game isn't going to be a game, though. Like, you're not going to really see much. You have to play as all of them, right? Like, if we're going to make a game out of this, like, how would you.
That's a good question.
Like, yeah, it's an interesting premise, but it's a hard game to make.
Well, it depends on how much of that stuff you want to make explicit or how much of it is just like implied by like the opening of the game, and sometimes you'll hear them over the PA system arguing, or maybe you can like get to Marv and like try and flip him against Harry, because Harry is definitely the more like vindictive, violent, like dangerous one of the two, and Marv's just the goofball, right? Who thinks he has all the fucking like big plans, and it's like his idea to be the Wet Bandits, like that's their calling card, and he thinks that's fucking cool, right? So he's clearly just a goof. So like trying to flip Marv on Harry might be part of what you do when you're crawling around, looking for shit. I mean, it feels like a game where there's lots of different ways to win, Yeah,
for sure.
I like the prison version a lot more than the like remake of the first movie where you're in the house, though, because it's fucking absurd, and I love the idea of Kevin McAllister like heavily tattooed with like because this is a dumbass video game, he's tattooed with like references to the first movie. Like he's got like the furnace monster on his arm and shit like that.
Kevin does?
Yeah, because it's a stupid video game callback, right? So like that's the kind of shit. Yeah. That's the kind of shit you'd put in there.
We glossed over it before, but I'm kind of curious what landed him in prison in the first place. What kind of crimes Kevin McAllister might have done?
He's a thief.
Oh man,
he robs houses.
That's hilarious, because then now who has the moral high ground? Because now it's just three men trying to kill each other.
Wait a minute though. What if Kevin grew up to like he because he defoiled these guys a couple times and they've been successful up to that point? What if he thought I could do better? And then it's like him and another guy that is his Marv,
Yeah.
And then after this movie is done, they go back to a life of crime. Or after this game is done, they go back. Yeah, I said game.
You did say game.
I'm going to edit that in. After the game is over, Kevin and his partner Fuller. Go back to a
Oh
life
shit!
of crime.
We're the Piss Bandits.
And the next game is about Kevin and Fuller getting foiled.
The cycle of
By
violence
some
continues.
Yeah.
I love the
Exactly.
idea that Kevin would team up with the kid who pisses his pants intentionally. Like, that scene is one of my favorite scenes because, like, that kid's fucking grin when he just, like, starts chugging out of a 2-liter bottle of Pepsi is just unstoppable. It's so fucking funny where he knows exactly what he's doing and he does it intentionally. It's fucking good. I could totally see that kid growing up to be a fucking criminal or a pervert or both.
It's both.
Yeah, you're right. He's like a peeping Tom. And the crime turns like hardcore after a while.
All right, so this is a premise we're running with for sure.
No,
And I was just
we
saying,
definitely don't have to.
well, if I was just trying to think of how to make that like what's playable in there if we actually are making it a game, or unless we're pivoting for this amazing third film and
No,
or,
I
you know.
well, I assumed it would be first person, or I mean, first person, third person doesn't really matter because I guess you're not really going for the horror aspect of it, like the fear of being caught by these two guys so much as it is like, you're in a very large space, and maybe it's more like one of the older Resident Evil games where you slowly unlock parts of the jail. And I'm just going with this premise because I really like it. You unlock parts of the jail as you get the keys, and like the old Resident Evil thing of like you get the heart key for the heart door, and then you can unlock everything with a heart lock on it. So you don't get like the master key for everything. You slowly unlock the place, and you might have like encounters with Harry and Marv in certain places, and you have to hide from them or use traps to sort of get around them, and like you encounter them trying to accomplish whatever they're trying to accomplish, which is probably to try and find you or escape or whatever it is. And so over time, you unlock more and more parts of the jail itself. You start in maybe the jail cell or like in the canteen or something, and from there you have to sort of like puzzle your way into the rest of the space.
Could be a thing too of maybe Kevin was framed or something, or he's not supposed to be in here. So it's like while you're trying to evade these two guys, you're also trying to make your escape attempt. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, or like you're trying to like in Shawshank Redemption, where the warden like knew that you were innocent or something, and you're trying to like find the files that prove that you're innocent or something.
Yeah. It just serves that way of like you're getting access to new areas and stuff. It feels like a progression of the story, so to speak, as well as just the space, expanding the space. Like it feels like you've gained access to something for Kevin that he needs.
Yeah,
beyond
totally.
just resources.
Yeah, I think it's definitely one of those games where you're just trying to stay alive as long as you like to get to the end of the game, and maybe the end of the game is to get to the warden's office, or like there might be some other thing, and maybe the Wet Bandits are just like the antagonist, and the goal isn't necessarily to kill them, but you're trying to accomplish a task, and they're trying to stop you from accomplishing that task. Maybe like by revealing that you have been framed, somehow it like incriminates them even further, and so they're trying to stop you from like adding years onto their sentence or whatever, like that maybe the whole idea isn't to just murder these two dudes.
I mean, I guess you can do that.
I don't know, I'm just throwing ideas out.
I know.
Sean, do you have any thoughts?
No.
Hey, well, thanks a lot.
I've sort of run out of thoughts. I mean, I guess it would depend on, the thing about the original movie as a map for this game is that you have freedom of movement. Like
right.
you could go around the house. You have time to prepare. You sort of know what you need to do. And I'm having trouble thinking of like a time pressure for this game, or like how would Kevin be free enough to wander around the prison to set things up?
Yeah, that's a good point.
It felt truly like a Home Alone thing. Like, how long are these other prisoners out of the prison but they have this? Is it one night? Like. It works better as a movie than a game, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, I think those are valid things to bring up. Like, if it is a single night, and for some reason you do like all the prison doors are unlocked. Which is the reason you somehow like you're able to get out of your cell, and the Wet Bandits are also able to get out of their cell, and every door just swings open in the whole place, and you have free run of the place. But this definitely doesn't like resolve the issue of how do you have time to prepare? Like the Wet Bandits are in there with you already. How are you going to get that moment of like, okay, tonight is the night they're going to show up? That might be sort of intractable issue with this sort of angle of game, and that's interesting to talk about too. Like that maybe this wouldn't work as a game for those reasons.
Yeah, for sure.
So back to the XCOM version.
Well, there's no reason this couldn't be the XCOM version. It's just like, what is the narrative excuse to be able to wander the prison?
Prisoner, they're transferring them from one prison to this prison, the Wet Bandits, and they're coming.
Yeah, it's weird that you said that, because I was thinking the same thing. Like maybe Kevin's just been here for a while, and then you find out that the Wet Bandits get transferred into your prison, so you've already earned your space, like earned your ability to roam.
Yeah,
you're the warden.
Yeah,
Kevin's been so after the events of his childhood, he's just very, very, very much about justice and crime and punishment. So he's just signed up for a life of being a warden.
I mean,
make sure the thieves get put away.
Sorry, no. What they did was at the end of the second movie, after he single-handedly captured the Wet Bandits, they just made him the warden.
Oh, right, as like a kid.
Yeah.
So he's 14 and he's a warden of a prison.
Yeah, no, that's good because it's Home Alone 3 kid warden. Or like,
got a good ring to it.
Put that on a box, slap it on a box, put some art on there of him like with that face, but behind him is like a prison, and he's like wearing
like a hat
suit.
That's too big.
Yeah. It's like Doogie Howser where he's wearing like a robe, like the medical coat, but it's way too big for him.
What I'm imagining is that the poster is him sitting behind a desk with a suit on, like with his hands folded in front of him, and but you can see like Harry and Marv are in front of the desk, like underneath.
Oh,
and he doesn't know they're there.
Yeah, that's really good.
They're like looking up at him like deviously.
Yeah, they're hiding under his desk.
Yeah, but he's in like an office with a giant bay window behind him.
Yep. Yeah, but he's like still like 14, so he's wearing a suit that doesn't really fit him very well, and like, oh man, that's really good. I think that's definitely the angle we should go at this at. It's funny. I was thinking the other option could be like it's a really, really like minimum security prison. Like it's almost like he like shoplifted or something really minor, and he's like in some sort of holding place or something where it's not, you can kind of roam somewhat freely. Like it's not like a maximum security like violent offenders prison. It's sort of like a minimum security kind of like lockout, and so he can actually roam the premises because he's like not a troublemaker or something. But I kind of like the idea of Kevin McAllister kid warden a lot more.
You know what we could actually do though that might work is like Kevin didn't really do it. He's an innocent man, wrongly accused. And he gets thrown in jail, and somehow like Harry and Marv framed him so that they could get him to prison just so they could kill him.
Perfect.
Oh yeah.
And so you basically have to prove your innocence at the same time as surviving the night.
That's what I said earlier.
Did you?
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, but you didn't say about the innocent. He wasn't innocent.
Okay,
at that point.
sorry, my mistake. In my mind, he was innocent. But yeah, like it would make the world really small for like the Wet Bandits to have like somehow tracked him down and framed him for a crime. But I think that's probably fine. I think it totally works because that they're just like weirdly like fixated and obsessed with the kid that ruined their lives.
Yeah, totally, and it makes sense.
He just gets thrown in there as a 14-year-old. Like they frame him like the next day. So like the next day, like like Home Alone 2 ends. Oh, we got all these presents from like the mayor. Oh shit! And the next day, like the cops show up and take him to prison in his like New York apartment.
Well, I'm thinking of like Kevin McAllister's like, because it's a gritty 2017 version of Home Alone. He basically is like Mad Max. Even though he's innocent, he just looks rough.
Yeah.
He's
had a rough
life.
life.
And he's got all these handmade tattoos and, yeah.
I love that.
He is played by Macaulay Culkin now.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. Or I guess modeled after him because it's still a video game.
No, he comes into the mocap studio.
Yeah, and he voices him
and capture and everything.
Perfect. I mean, you got to get that we got to get the cover of the box moment in that game though, right? Where he like slaps his hands on the side of his face and goes ah, right?
It's when he drops the soap in the shower.
Wow.
Okay.
What are you trying
Just
to
we
imply
never
with
see
that?
the rest of the scene. He just drops the soap and it's like a cute thing. It just falls on the
Is
ground.
it?
And he
Is
just
it a
slaps
cute
his
thing?
hand. Well, the way that this is presented. We never
Are
see
we
what
talking
happens
about
after he just
like?
slaps
Are we
his hand
talking
on his
about
face
like
and screams.
prison rape as being like a cute like what a goof?
Well, you never see any of that. He just it drops the soap.
It's not like it's
and
not
screams.
implied.
And then we cut wide to like a shot of the outside of the prison, and you can hear him. It's like
Go, ah!
yeah. And then we just cut to the next scene.
Oh man, this is a video game, not a movie.
I don't know if it is anymore.
I mean, it could, yeah. I mean,
I don't know if
you
it ever was.
It's a video game or a movie, either way.
Well, the video game is still legitimate. I mean, I still think there's a way to make it a game. It's kind of like I think you need to get more characters involved, though. You know, it's like we've been only talking about Harry, Marv, and Kevin McAllister.
Yeah.
But like, I think you need to, you know, introduce some side characters and have some
Like the pigeon lady and the snow
What?
shovel
No.
guy. The pigeon lady from the second movie. I'm not saying exactly her, like that kind of character.
oh yeah.
Well, there's like other inmates that are like weird, and he doesn't trust them at first, and they seem bizarre. But you know,
Come help you out.
yeah.
They just Deus Ex
So you
Machina.
can use them as resources.
Yeah. Oh, like this. One of them can like build you shit, and one of them like knows rumors of like hidden stuff, you know, in the prison. So you have to like check in with them. Like they're still in prison too.
Well, like the pigeon lady can have the pigeon shit all over, and then they slip on the shit and they fall.
She's like
You
the
know,
Birdman. She's like the Birdman from Alcatraz.
Yeah, exactly. And then the old man is there too. The old man with the shovel. He actually did commit the murder, so he's in jail.
Oh man, that's a really good twist. Like, remember how you thought he was a murderer, but that was just you being a child? No, he actually was a murderer. Just because he saved you in that one moment, he was actually planning on murdering you, but then the cops showed up.
He was pissed that they were going to murder you. He wanted to murder you himself.
Fuck. And somehow he's like your buddy in prison. That's weird.
Yeah.
But Buzz, I can definitely see Buzz being in prison.
I like the idea that Buzz gets his shit together. No, like I like the idea that he shows up. He's like a diligent brother, and he shows up like every
He's
Wednesday.
Kevin's lawyer.
Oh shit, that's really really good. Oh man, he still goes by Buzz. Like it's just like he never like drops the name.
Well, no, but what happened is Buzz is his like he's so good at lawyering that his nickname is Buzz. Like he's an amazing lawyer, and he's electrifying in the courtroom.
Oh
so they call
my
him
god.
Yeah.
I love the idea that he's like really smart and it gets his shit together, but it's still played by that same dude.
That guy was in fucking
Blue Ruin.
Blue Ruin. Was it Blue Ruin?
Yeah. He's also in an episode of
Yeah.
Louis. He played like Louis' limo driver.
That's amazing. I haven't seen any of those. Oh my god, that's so good.
So weird.
He's in Nebraska too, I think.
I haven't seen Nebraska.
But I was gonna say he could be in prison, and then like Buzz is like some other guy that he's been just made his like prison bitch for lack of a better word, and then Kevin sees him and he's like Buzz's girlfriend. Woof.
That's actually what Buzz calls his prison.
Yeah,
Woof.
yeah.
That's
Woof.
his name.
Yeah.
It's Buzz and Woof, two animal sounds.
Somebody's like, he's not that bad looking, and you're like, no, that's his name. Woof. It's like a new version of the old joke.
Oh my god, that's amazing. I love the idea that like to make this work, everyone in this town has just gone to the same prison. Like everyone has just had their lives ruined and has gone to prison. Like Buzz, prison. Kevin's mom, prison. Like whatever, just fuck it, just throw him in. Dad, prison. Got to get him in there. Yeah.
Even the guy who like delivered the pizza and ran away scared somehow was in the prison.
No, he delivers the pizza.
But, yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's still delivering pizza.
He's still delivering pizzas
at
like
45.
Yeah. Fuck. It's really good. I love the idea that nothing in this world has ever evolved. Like every character is exactly the way that you saw them in like 1995 or whenever the last movie came out. Except that they're older, obviously, but like their characters haven't changed at all.
I think it was 92. It's been a long
Yeah,
time.
you're probably
Well,
right.
I mean, since the second movie, I don't count Home Alone 3 with that fucking kid.
No, that movie doesn't
whoever
count.
that kid is.
Home Alone 2 with the great Donald Trump cameo.
Oh God.
Yeah, I know. Looking at that and be like, that guy's gonna be the president one day is fucking weird.
He's not the president.
I know. Well, most people
He's
say.
just some fucking asshole making money.
Okay, well, I didn't mean to turn this into a political podcast.
Let's put him in prison, right, guys?
Oh shit! Yeah, Trump's in prison too. Yeah, definitely. In that prison.
Well, he should definitely be there
in the game. He's 100%. Or maybe he's the warden. Like he's the evil warden. No. Okay, he's in prison.
Home Alone 3 was written by John Hughes. I'm finding out right now.
Really?
On IMDb, yes. Home Alone 3, starring Alex D. Linz, Oleg Krupa, Ria Kilstedt.
What was the premise of that movie other than the kid being home alone? Like, was it like another group of criminals, but with a lady this time, like 3 of them trying to break into his house?
I don't know, but Scarlett Johansson is in it, which is bananas.
Listen, you got to pay the bills, all right?
Yeah.
I don't think she was famous yet.
No.
Yeah, this movie's from like
No, I'm not saying she was like
99 or 2000, right?
97.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for killing the podcast.
Its IMDb user review is, it's not the same. That's how it's titled.
That is such a good review. It tells you all you need to know. Oh, man.
I love the idea of somebody going in there excited, like, "Oh man, I'm gonna get a new installment of Home Alone."
Yeah, like
You know
they're
what I mean?
riveted.
Like, I can't wait to relive this experience and really recapture the energy that the first one brought. And then they get out and they're just so upset that they go to fucking IMDb. It's not the same. You guys are never gonna believe it.
No, 1997, IMDb wasn't even a thing, so they like held it, or they saw it recently. The idea that they like saw the movie in 1997 and held onto their like angry opinion until IMDb burst into existence, and then they're like, I know exactly what I'm gonna write.
This was written 19th of April 2006.
Okay, well, there goes my idea.
Yeah, sorry.
That's it. You ruined it. You killed it.
Well, now it's our job to reignite the Home Alone candle.
I gotta tell you how this review finishes. This movie was good at first, but it's not the same. Those who like the first 2 Home Alone movies, you might not like this one. Rent it first and see for yourself.
Before you purchase the DVD.
What?
I love the idea of like, I'm gonna test this Home Alone movie out. Yeah, this movie, this like weird sequel with different cast. I'm gonna just like rent it before I purchase it for my family to watch many times.
Which also implies that this person owns it and they're just sour
Oh
because
shit!
they
You're
bought
right. Fuck. What a sad state of affairs. This was back in 2006, right? So like, owning DVDs was still like kind of a thing. Like you wanted to like replace your VHS collection with the DVD collection, you know? So like, you know, Netflix and that kind of stuff, and Redbox even was not really as much of a thing. I mean, Blockbuster and stuff was still around. So like, the idea of going to Blockbuster and renting a DVD, I guess, was still kind of a thing back then.
But you know, he got it. Like, it's not like he paid $20 for it. You know, like that movie was never
in the 99
that movie was
cent
never
bin.
in the new release section of Best Buy. You know what I mean? It was. It just immediately went into a bin, like in the checkout line.
It comes off the truck in a big pallet, and they just like dump the pallet into the 99-cent bin immediately. Let's just fucking cut out the middleman here.
And it was like in the same case as like another DVD. It was like a 2-pack. It just came like in a 2-pack or in a collection of like a disc collection. You know what I mean?
Well, it came in the Home Alone trilogy collection.
Oh
Yeah.
fuck! That whole trilogy box just went right into the 99-cent bin at the checkout counter.
It's exclusively available at Walmart or something.
Or like, so here's the thing. I would probably, if I was a Home Alone fan, I'm sure there's many of them. I would buy that trilogy just to get the other 2 movies for like 99 cents, and you just throw away the third one. But somebody did that and then watched the third one, like, well, I've got it. Let's just see what this is all about, you know?
Important question here. 27 of 42 people found this review helpful. Was this review helpful to you?
I would say, yeah, definitely.
I'm gonna rent it before I buy it for sure.
Yeah, like you're gonna follow the instructions.
I'm clicking yes. It was helpful.
That's a shame we can't click
Alright.
it 3 times because really it helped all 3 of us.
That's true. You guys could go to the page.
Okay,
too.
yeah.
Can you read the URL for us right now so we can go in there?
It's gonna have a bunch of numbers and letters in it. Please don't do that on
Anybody else who listens to the podcast and found that review that we read instead of doing
just
what
go
we're supposed
to
be doing.
IMDb and search for Home Alone 3 and find that review and just give that guy a couple bumps. He probably needs it after watching that movie, 9 years ago, 11 years ago.
Not even on IMDb anymore.
Yeah, he's
Forgotten
moved
it
on.
exists.
This
They were 13 at the time and grew up.
That's a really cogent review for a 13-year-old.
Well, you haven't read the rest of it.
That's true. That's true.
It's literally just shit emojis.
Did they exist until 2006? This is really good content for this podcast, by the way.
Yeah.
We should look it up on the podcast and see if they did.
Let's not do that. Why don't we wrap this up? Because I think we've got 2 decent movie/video game ideas for Home Alone, and we've been going for about an hour. So, thanks for listening. We'll see you in a couple weeks for the next episode. We're not sure what it's going to be yet, but stick around for that one.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Yeah, and fade out.
Storied is Chris Rebbert, Harrison Pink, and Sean Ainsworth, and our music is composed by the amazing Jared Emerson Johnson. Thanks so much for listening.